With the second video of the day, the drama continues. Last time we spoke about Patrik Laine and all the juicy rumors that came up about him and why he wanted to leave, insinuating that Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, and Paul Maurice were just going out there to get him, and they didn't like Laine and they talked behind his back, etc. That was a really weird thing. Check the previous video on this channel if you want to hear the scoop on that. It came from a Finnish article. In this video, we're talking about the guy he was traded for, because Pierre-Luc Dubois is in a spot where there are so many other juicy-ish kind of rumors coming out about him. At the same time, it's almost like Winnipeg and Columbus are trying to out-rumor each other in terms of how their young, talented star players, 2016 top draft picks, ended up departing from the team. So, everything started off with an interview done with Pierre-Luc Dubois. You've probably seen this. It was on TV. Ron MacLean conducted it. The video is on Sportsnet's website. It's the first actual interview done with Pierre-Luc Dubois as to why he wanted to leave. If we're going to go over and actually look at the quotes here, let's go over onto NBCSports.com, where they transcribe the quotes made from Dubois. It's easier for me to do this because I can screenshot it, put it on the screen, and follow along as I'm reading. So, why exactly did Pierre-Luc Dubois want to leave Columbus? Well, he says it was a process. I said since the start I'm not going to go into detail, and I won't. I can say it was a process. I was thinking about it a long time. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't that I just woke up one morning and I was like, oh, I want to leave. It was something I thought about. As negotiations were going, obviously you don't take anything personally. But as they go longer and longer, you kind of start to think about stuff in situations. At some point I thought, there's PLD the hockey player and PLD the human. I wanted to stay true to myself, to my teammates, and I knew if I was a longer deal player, deep down I would have wanted this to happen where I leave. I wanted to be real to myself, be real to my teammates, yada yada yada, something, yeah. So you get it, he's saying that he kind of realized that he just wouldn't really want to be in Columbus long term. Either because of different situations, like, oh, what does the long-term future have for this hockey team, etc., etc. Do we plan to win a cup this year? Do we plan to keep these star players this other year? Stuff like that, right? And it seems that just from the way Dubois phrased this answer, the contract negotiations going on for a period of time kind of put him in a position where he started thinking about the other possibilities. Okay, if I sign an 8-year deal, what happens? If I sign a 5-year deal, what happens? If I sign a 3-year, 2-year, 1-year contract, what does my future look like in Columbus? And he just felt that he did not see a fit there. That's kind of what I got from it. But it's actually Jarmo Kekalainen who has a little bit of a different understanding of what it is Dubois said. We're going over onto the Score where they published this article here, where Kekalainen says he wants Dubois to tell the truth about the trade request. Take a look at this. It's going over a radio interview that Jarmo Kekalainen did on Leafs Lunch, TSN 1050 the other day. There was never any problem with the negotiation of the Dubois contract. It came to a conclusion very quickly. Once the player and the agent wanted to engage in the talks, and we agreed on the length, it was a very easy process. There was nothing about the negotiations, and I wish that Pierre-Luc Dubois would tell the truth about why he wanted out. He hasn't even told me. He hasn't told his teammates or anybody else. It certainly wasn't about contract negotiations, I can assure you of that. And the way it comes off here, it's that Jarmo Kekalainen is believing that the way the contract negotiations even went were the reason why Dubois wanted to leave, which I didn't interpret it that way. I thought that Dubois was kind of thinking about different scenarios from the different lengths of contracts that he could have signed, and it kind of enlightened him into realizing that he wouldn't want a long-term future in Columbus. But Kekalainen says this about the overall negotiations. When the Leafs Lunch guys asked him, hey, do you believe the contract negotiation discussions caused Dubois to request a trade? He says that's just flat out not true at all, and he knows that. So I don't know why he would say that or even insinuate something like that, because that's not true. Now, I don't know about you, but to me it kind of feels like they're not on the same page here. I already explained what I think Pierre-Luc Dubois meant when he said that the contract negotiations caused him to think about different situations, etc. So that's kind of how I feel about it, but that's not even all we have to the story here with Pierre-Luc Dubois and why he might have wanted to leave or whatever, or how he was mistreated. I said mistreated a lot at the beginning. Let's go over this article. Take a look at this. It is on what is this, CBC RadioCanada.ca. It's an article written over here by Martin Leclerc, and it goes over a lot of things. Let's just translate it from French into English and read off what it is here that it says. It pretty much brings up at the beginning how the Dubois trade raises up so many questions, like why did Dubois invest time and money to have a house built in Columbus, which he moved into last summer, if it was his intention to move out of town, or how did he change faith so quickly from being the guy that led the Blue Jackets in points in the postseason to being, what he was when he eventually left. The article then goes over Tortorella and Dubois, and it talks about how Pierre-Luc Dubois specifically said that Tortorella being Tortorella was not a reason why he wanted to leave. That was also very heavily documented in the Ron MacLean interview. It was very adamant that Tortorella was not a reason. But the article then establishes that Dubois did indeed come to the conclusion by some time that he did not want to commit long-term with the Blue Jackets. This is the paragraph that follows. Kekalainen and Pat Brisson, the agent, then decided to work together to settle the dispute. They agreed that it would be a better deal to sign a 2-year extension wherein the average value, which is $5 million AAV, would allow the Blue Jackets to trade Dubois despite the difficult economic environment. This agreement was remained confidential, so the Blue Jackets would continue to operate normally until he eventually got traded. Except that's not what happened. Take a look at this next paragraph here. It goes over what exactly the big mistreating is that I'm hinting towards here in the Blue Jackets organization. When training camp got underway, John Tortorella's assistants had been ordered not to speak to Dubois. The latter then realized the obvious. Communication was broken, and his work environment was no longer the same. And this childish way of approaching the situation meant that an exchange was going to happen very quickly. The article then goes over the Tortorella quotes where sometimes he would just refuse to give quotes, like when the Blue Jackets would lose in the playoffs and Tortorella would go up there, not answer any questions, etc. And then it talks about when Tortorella did give quotes about the Dubois situation, and it's some of the stuff that we talked about before where Tortorella would ask Dubois in front of the team, hey, give us a reason why you want to leave, and he couldn't give a reason, stuff like that. But just the way this is phrased here, I don't even really know if this is 100% truth or whatever. It's just kind of written here in the article, and it was kind of going viral on Twitter. But if that's true, where John Tortorella and the assistants were out here refusing to talk to Pierre-Luc Dubois about why it is that he wanted to get traded, or they already knew that he wanted to leave, so they just refused to give him the light of day, that kind of feels a little bit unfair to me, man. Like, to be honest, if that's true, of course, I don't really know if it is, it's just being mentioned here. And I think if it is true to the extent that this article is implying it is, then it's very mature for Pierre-Luc Dubois to go out there and just be super honest about it with the media and be like, yeah, I just left because I didn't see a long-term future here. Not because of the coach, even though there was other stuff that the coach was doing that might be seen as kind of toxic. Like, low-key, that's pretty toxic if you ask me. But of course, that's only on the assumption that it actually did happen. I really don't know. Again, link in the description to all this stuff. By the way, the Radio Canada article is indeed in French. I had to translate it into English via the Google machine. But yeah, that's definitely not the most fun thing to hear about. How apparently the Blue Jackets knew the entire time. Yeah, this guy wanted out. Tortorella and the assistant coaching staff ended up knowing about it and refusing to entertain Dubois as a hockey player afterwards. And then you have the Friedman stuff and the LeBrun stuff and the Drager stuff afterwards where they're like, yeah, apparently Dubois wanted out for a while, and now it kind of makes sense if this article is indeed telling the truth. So tell me in the comments what you think about this piece over here. What do you think about the Pierre-Luc Dubois fallout? What do you think of Kekalainen calling out Dubois and not really thinking that Dubois is telling the truth about this stuff and why he wanted to leave? And also tell me about Tortorella and the overall accusations made against him in this article. Again, it's all weird, right? We had the Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, Paul Maurice thing with Winnipeg and Patrik Laine earlier, and then in the same day we had these Pierre-Luc Dubois things coming out as well. It's weird how these rumors seem to have come out at the exact same time, but talk to me in the comments what you think regardless. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.